All good? Yeah? Shall we start? Okay, so today we are talking about urban psychology or urban design for mental health and well-being. And the topic is becoming more popular now. You can find more books and talks about it, which is good. And we're hoping that decision makers and city planners will consider putting urban psychology into action. So we have some numbers here that we mentioned before, that studies show that people living in cities have an increased risk of 21% of facing anxiety disorders, an increased risk of 39% of facing mood disorders like depression, and almost twice the risk of facing other psychological issues like schizophrenia. And we asked the question whether these negative impacts are due to the way we design and build our cities, or are they due to the behavior and habits of the inhabitants of the cities? And the answer was, of course, both of these reasons have something to do with it. We impact our cities and our cities impact us. It's a two-way process that you cannot really separate. And there could be many reasons, many stressors in the cities, in the lifestyle of the cities, on our daily basis, and even generally stressors in our lives. And so, and actually cities could be the solution, not the problem. So urban psychology simply by definition studies how the way we design and build our cities impact us psychologically, and I would even say physically. It then studies how we can use methods and techniques in order to achieve positive impacts and in order to mitigate or eliminate the negative impacts. So through urban psychology, we can actually achieve reduced stress, improved mood, improved cognitive performance, mitigate or eliminate the negative impacts, humanize the urban spaces, improve productivity and engagement, in addition to attention restoration. Of course, we have an issue in our modern cities, which is short attention span. We're so much connected to our devices, we're so much connected to our digital stuff that we have very short attention span, which has its negative impacts as well, including lower productivity. So different urban designers tend to approach the idea of urban psychology or urban design for mental health in different ways. They have different school of thoughts. I usually prefer to start from this book right here, The Image of the City, which was written back in 1960 by the famous American urban theorist Kevin Lynch. And he argues that for any given city, a corresponding set of mental images exist in the minds of the people who experience the city. Contributing to those images are 5 qualities that Lynch identifies as paths, edges, districts, nodes, and landmarks. The book did mention that the way we design and build our cities is closely linked to our sense of balance and well-being. The book then influenced the fields of environmental psychology and environmental behavior a lot. So environmental psychology focuses on the transactions between individuals and their surroundings. It examines how the natural environment and our built environments shape us as individuals. Environmental psychology emphasizes how humans change the environment and how the environment changes humans' experiences and behavior. Then different schools of psychology started sort of getting introduced to the field of urban design. Environmental psychology, of course, is one of the popular ones. And then we have psychodynamic theory, which we spoke about before, which studies how emotions, thoughts, and early life experiences shape the person we are today. And emotions and our early life experiences are closely linked to our cities, to the places where we are born, to the districts, to the architecture, to the landmarks, to the places that we go to. That's why it's important for architects and urban designers to design sort of positive psychological impact design elements, design positive early life experiences that impact the persons that we actually turn out to be. Yeah. So I'm going to give an example for a strong mental image of the city by the city of Florence in Italy. So if you visited the city, or if you heard about the city, most likely you heard about the famous cathedral, the Dome of Florence, which is a very iconic landmark and it's related to also history and ideology, which gives it even more power. So the city has very well defined edges, the mountains and the rivers. It has very good connectivity to nature, and also we have the nodes, the places where people gather, restaurants and cafeterias and stuff. It has clear paths, and it has the districts at walkable or at least a bikeable, most of the districts, distance from these nodes and the services. So Florence has a strong mental image, and if you visited the city, most likely you have a positive mental image of the city, the beautiful architecture, the nice dome, the nice Italian gelato. Yet the people living in the city might face some stress and depression due to other reasons, like economic reasons, of course. And here comes urban psychology. We study how can we build and enhance the potential of the city, the good connectivity to nature, and the strong mental image in order to mitigate or eliminate these negative impacts. Of course, urban psychology and urban design don't have all the answers, but it could be a very effective tool to build on a very good existing potential. So I'm gonna mention some of the examples and ideas and concepts of urban psychology that usually urban designers talk about. So the first one is, of course, connecting cities and its inhabitants to nature. So nature basically charges our mental batteries. Nature charges our mental batteries in a way leading to improved mood, reduced stress, less depression, attention restoration, as we said before. And of course, there are many cities in Americas, Europe, and Asia are by default connected to nature, so we can have very good connectivity to nature, so we can build on that and enhance that. Yet it could be challenges in places like Dubai and the Gulf countries in general, and cities in the desert, where you have to exert additional effort in order to give a sense of connectivity to nature on the architecture, the building scale, and on the urban scale. Some solutions for that could be green walls, green roofs, green spaces in general, water features, which is very important to give a sense of a blue city. The water features are very positive as well when we include in our designs and in our urban designs. Then we have designing active, inclusive, walkable, and bikeable cities. And walkable cities, by walkable cities, we don't only mean designing places for people to walk, which is good and important, but it also means designing the services, the people, the places where people eat, supermarkets, restaurants, places even where they work, at a walkable or at least a bikeable distance from the places where they live. Yeah, there is the idea of the 15 or 20-minute city where all the services at 15 or 20-minute walk or cycling from the places where people live. Okay. Then we have collective intelligence and collective action. And collective intelligence basically means when a group of people come together, share ideas, skills, data, and it's important, data is very important for urban design in order to take the correct design decisions. Okay, so and by collective we don't only mean on the level of the individuals, but as the name implies, collective means the institutions should be there, the governmental entities, the media, the individuals, everybody, as the name implies, it's collective, right? So, and then the collective action is very important, and we had a video about that, about the collective action before. Collective action is very important when we actually can ask people or can engage people in a collective action in order to achieve a positive impact or mitigate or eliminate the negative impact. This collective action could be on a level of just a district or a city or a full country or a full continent or even the whole world. So collective intelligence and collective action still under discussion or a work in progress, but it's actually one of the important things when we want to achieve positive impacts. Now, another interesting one is actually playable cities and character building cities, how we can turn our cities to be playable through designing playgrounds and play areas, not only for kids, but for all ages. Okay, so inclusive playgrounds, and there are lots of studies about about how these playgrounds actually can help in character building of the children in early life stages, and also in engaging all ages in a fun and positive, as we said, it's considered a positive psychological impact design elements when you know how to design a playable city, inclusive playgrounds, promoting active play and promoting also positive character building elements. Then we have AI and VR for human-centric cities. And AI is basically going to everything, so we need to as well, we might as well utilize it in a responsible way in order to achieve positive psychological impact in our cities, which brings me to the next part, which is the VR or virtual reality simulation, which is used a lot in urban psychology testing and urban design testing as well, where VR simulation methods are used to help build an experimental science of urban design, because data is good, but we need to build an experimental, a sophisticated research-based experimental science of urban design. So participants are placed into highly immersive simulations of city spaces using sophisticated head-mounted displays and precise motion tracking. And then we can monitor their gaze and their movements, with the set of sensors, of course. We can measure their gaze, their heartbeats, the reaction of the nervous system as they react to arousing stressful events. So, and this simulation could be for maybe a very simple design decision, by the way. It could be for just to know whether the low-rise building is better or high-rise building is better. So we actually just do a simulation simply for low-rise and high-rise building. Sometimes they do it for natural environments in order to see most likely the positive impact of these simulations on the participants. Sometimes they want to see an existing crowded and chaotic place in order to see the stressful impact on the participants, and then maybe also introduce or do the right decision, the right design decisions and changes and enhancements in order to mitigate or eliminate these negative impacts. So yeah, the next one is actually one of my favorite, and it is, and I think it's one of the most effective ways. It's actually imagining a city as a person and trying to understand the personality traits of the city. So, for example, you might draw a city as, or imagine a city as a young, innovative, creative person, which reflects, of course, on the inhabitants of the city. They would feel creative, innovative, and would lead to actually increasing the innovation and creativity in the city. Another city you can draw it as an old, dull, boring, feeding on conspiracy theories. So here it's clear that we have psychological issues for, I would say, the collective mind of the city. And for the city in general, we are facing negative psychological issues that we need to deal with. So the city personality test could tell us the positive traits of the personality of the city, so we can build on it and enhance it, and it can tell us the negative psychological issues that we need to deal with. Okay, so the city personality test was highlighted in a good way in a fairly recent book called Psychology in the City, The Hidden Dimension by Charles Landry and Chris Murray. And they designed their city personality test in a nice way, and they tested on cities, I think around 11 cities, to understand the personalities of these cities, and then the ways that we can improve or mitigate and eliminate the negative impacts.